For the first time in more than 5.5 years, we finally tonight have a few new answers to a question that has loomed over Indiana and over the town of Delphi. Who killed Abby Williams and Libby German?
From the end of the bridge to, you got to go through. Now, I believe that the bodies were found about 50.
Born from a family's grief and determination. In April of 2020, Army soldier Vanessa Guillen went missing while stationed at one of the largest military installations.
That little music in the background that goes, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious."
Right.
Knew about it or was there. He's as guilty as the person who committed.
Chilling details in the arrest of a suspected serial killer caught before he could strike again.
Him, they dropped the ball, man. Like they said, he went AWOL, and that he was a deserter, and nobody went to look for him.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder.
Like I said, we're going back. We were asked last time to kind of talk about the food, the grub truck video, and kind of give our perspective of it. The press release from the police department, it indicated that they're still trying to put pieces together from that night. Does that worry you at any point or at any bit that they're still trying to put those pieces together?
It's been over 5 weeks since little Kaylee Anthony vanished. Her mother, Casey, has been arrested for lying to police. She's being held without bail.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to The Drunken Turkey Show, your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Everybody, welcome back to The Drunk Turkey Show. I'm your host, Daniel J. Alongside with me is Big Blue, this time and only Big Blue. How you doing, Blue?
What's going on? Just enjoying my days off, man.
Nice, dude. Nice. Are you gonna be drinking tonight?
In a little bit, I'll go get my drink. I forgot it in the fridge, so I was cooling it down.
Oh, snap. When you go do that, we'll take a small commercial break, and I'll go get one myself as well. I want to say hello to all 231 of you guys already in the live chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for subscribing. We passed the 35K mark on subscribers, so thank you guys so much. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you're not subscribed, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, that way you're notified of all our daily lives. We go live pretty much 5 days a week now, Monday through Friday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday it's in the evening, and Thursdays and Tuesdays are at midday. So nice, already got a super sticker coming in from Karen Isabel Stewart. Thank you so much for your $2 super sticker. We appreciate you. So
thank you.
There was a video out that came out today, Blue, referencing the Idaho 4 case, Bryan Kohberger. A couple of his, a neighbor of his, a friend of his, maybe not so much a friend. I think this is more of a guy that met him at a party. And a former classmate came out to on a channel called Law and Crime. I believe that's what they call. We'll be linking the initial or the original interview in its entirety after the show, of course. But they had 3 guys come on, and they had an encounter or some sort of relationship with Bryan Kohberger, and they kind of talked about some things about Bryan, kind of give us an idea of who he is. Did you, I know I sent it to you and we're going to watch this, but what did you think about that first and foremost, that, the timing of this, it coming out now?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the clip. I was driving from the other side of town. I went to the flea market this morning, so I tried to catch a little bit as I was driving. So it was pretty interesting in the way they were talking about how he was when he was younger.
Got you. Yeah, for sure, man. And in fact, we'll pull up. So basically, it's like a 30-minute clip or show, maybe even a little bit longer than that, maybe a little bit less. there's a lot in there. They talk about a lot of different things and talk about their own theories. What I did was I just clipped out the parts where these guys, these friends and acquaintances and classmates of Bryan Kohberger actually are talking, and so that we can make our own opinion about what it is that they're saying versus the opinion from Law and Crime. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you, Blue?
That makes plenty of sense.
All right, let's start this. We'll play it, and then we'll talk about it. The first guy that comes forward is Josh Ferrero. He is a former classmate of Bryan Kohberger. He was his lab partner as well. He's also, you might recognize him from TikTok. I believe he's called like Psychological Sleuth. He's come forward, gained a lot of popularity after, obviously, this case and his connection to it. So he's going to be the first guy that we're going to be listening into.
All right.
All righty.
It's a small school. It's not like it's a Penn State or a Pitt or a Temple. It's a very small school in a cornfield. So if you go there, you know most of the people within your study and pretty much everyone that goes to the school. And he was not known. At that time, I would have never said, oh yeah, that guy would do something like this. He may have been a little odd or a little off, but like other than that, you'd never expect someone to be allegedly part of a quadruple homicide. I was following it day one, because who hears about 4 college students that are unfortunately murdered, and how do you not want to keep up with that? So I got on TikTok, YouTube, Google, and I vigorously kept up with this case. And that's why it's like shocking to me, because this guy was such a normal dude, average Joe type person. You would never, like, you don't know what's under people's skin. God forbid if he didn't do it, great. But all the signs point to that he did.
I went to college with Bryan Kohberger. I've been looking at his picture all day. I've been saying the name all day in my head. And I was like, I know this guy. And then he went to DeSales University. I'm like, I know I had a class with him. I know it. The name sounds so familiar.
He was new. And I said, hey, buddy, do you want to be my lab partner? And that's pretty much what was left. So I took him. And it ended up working out very well. Not always the creepy guy with glasses and oily hair and creeping around the corner. It's sometimes just that average Joe that on the inside, you have no idea what he looks like. But on the outside, he may just seem like a normal person, much like Bryan Kohberger. I really don't think that there's too many outward telltale signs of someone committing a crime. I feel like it's all mostly internal, which goes back to the blank slate theory and basically how you're raised, what you're exposed to as a child, what your genetics are. That would be predisposition. So like some things you're predisposed to do in life, that's just unfortunate. Your genetics dictate you will be one way. However, the blank slate theory says that dependent on your situation and who you grow up with, what kind of friends you have, how many friends you have, do you have a lover, all these things in combination kind of make you who you are. So it's a combination of both, in my opinion. I'm not a professional. You got to ask Catherine Ray. I don't see this as this grandiose thing where he was trying to get away with it. I think he had this compulsion, this need, this necessity to do it. And he's probably always wanted to do it and finally said, F it, I'm going to do it. The course that I took that stands out is psychological sleuthing, where you basically enter the mind of a killer. She would give you sheets, and basically the sheets would denote and detail a crime. However, you wouldn't know who did what per se or where this was, but you'd have to, it was a group thing. So you'd get partnered up or in groups, and you would go through these activities and basically come up with a theory or a thesis and then challenge it to Dr. Ramsland. DeSales is just such a close-knit and heartfelt community. Like I said, everybody knows each other. And the fact that really no one knows about this guy, he went in and out.
So first things first about that. So he was a former classmate of Bryan Kohberger, and a couple things that pointed out was he was quiet to himself. Not many people knew of him, and being the size of the school and the population of the immediate area, that was something that was uncommon. They talked about entering the mind of a killer, and that being a project of theirs, and that they would have to turn into their professor, who ends up being the same professor who, wrote the autobiography for BTK. And so, what are your thoughts about what what this young man had to say.
I mean, yeah, he was lab partners with him, so I'm pretty sure he sat next to him, talked to him in class, so he knew a little bit of his like school presence, but he didn't say he went out partying with them, drinking, and hang out with them after class, so he didn't know that part of him, and that's
Right.
a different part of a person you'll find out to be when you find what their interests are and what they like to do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, man. That's a great point. Just because you're somebody's lab partner, you don't know what's going on in their head and what they do at home. Um, he talked about how Kohberger was a guy that you wouldn't expect to have done something like this. By his appearance, by his just knowing him throughout that semester. Um, they talked about some of the classes that they had to take there as well, and talked about internet sleuthing, things like that. So do you think that perhaps maybe that thirst, kind of like this guy had said, was what he was trying to achieve? He got within that class, wanted to be, got too involved into the commission of a crime.
It's just like anybody. Like a lot of people on here say, I'm obsessed with this case because it's interesting to them. So
Right.
He probably became obsessed with,
the talk,
the talk and the minds of a murderer or killer, because it's interesting when you're there in class. You learn a lot of interesting facts about people. Saying things about these cases that we're following. We follow them because we're interested by something. Something piques that little part of our brain that just wants us to keep going and learning more about it.
Right. No, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. The other thing that he was talking about was the clean slate theory, and basically nature versus nurture. Is it genetic? Is it what you've gone through that creates the person that you are? Everybody talks about he was bullied because of his weight, and that he lost a lot of weight. I don't know a few guys that felt that narrative or whatnot, that were heavier and then lost some weight, and not be, I don't think that's just, that alone is one thing, but, being bullied, he talked about family, whatnot. It sounds like all indications sound like he comes from a loving family. Do you think the bullying, I think there would have to be more to it than that. I don't think that's enough. What do you think?
I mean, the bullying thing, even when we were in school, remember, we'd always pick on each other jokingly.
Right.
There are some bullies out there that take things way out of hand.
That's true. That is
but
true.
I think it's more psychological. Something happened to him. Something, it could have been the drug use. Could have been a lot.
That's true. You bring up great points tonight.
Because it seems like he has a caring family. They're still behind them. They're still, following the case and still caring for their son. They're not going to abandon him. So it's not the family issue, I think. I think it's more like, I when I'm at work, I deal with a lot of people that, do drugs, and something, if they do so much drugs, it affects their brain. It does.
Right.
It truly does. I remember one time I was helping somebody out, and I was about to walk around to get her vitals, right? And she started slamming on the door, like, let me in. I'm like, okay, what the hell happened? She's all, the guy's outside. The guy's outside was with a bike. I said, oh yeah, I saw a guy pass by. It was 2 or 3 in the morning, and the guy comes in. He's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't mean to startle you, but he was tattooed all up in his face. He came in with his bike and his bicycle, and his bike and his backpack, and her son was in the truck, and she's like, he's on the phone, like, Mom, get in the room, hurry up, because he has a knife.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so I walked out there, and I had to tell you, I need you to leave, making my patients uncomfortable. And so I even, like, I walked behind him, and I tried to hold the door because he was trying to get like a 10-speed through the 2 doors, you know what I mean? He brought it actually inside the building. And right then and there, he turned around and just gave me a stare in the face. He says, don't you ever walk behind me. I have PTSD and you don't know what I'm gonna do to you.
Oh, wow.
Split second, and reportedly he had a machete in his backpack. I didn't see nothing, but it doesn't scare me because I deal with these people all the time. So,
damn, Blue, you gotta stay safe, bro. You gotta stay safe. And those that are asking about the interview, it's 3 segments. We just finished the first part. The second and the last, probably more so the last part, is probably the most important part. The first part is not saying it's not important, but the most intriguing. First part just kind of talks about a former classmate of his who, some of their studies, things like that. This next part, though, this is Zach Cartwright. He met Kohberger at a party, and then again on a hiking trail, and he felt that his experience with Kohberger was odd, and I'll be honest. I mean, this is just a lot of people saying that he acted odd. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The last guy, maybe we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's we'll mute each other and then we'll hit play.
He did seem pretty kind of just socially awkward and kind of hard to carry a conversation with, if I remember correctly. But besides that, he mainly just stood to the side and was really observant, and so much so that based on that one small interaction, he knew exactly who I was maybe a month or so later when I saw him on that hike. It was really weird how he approached me and the people that I was with, because he acted kind of like we were best friends, or it was like a reunion or something, and he was really excited to see us, and I had no idea really who he was right at that second. I did speak to the FBI at one point. I do believe that they spoke to a lot of people that were at that party. It may be because that was one of his very first times, if not his first time in Moscow.
So the big question that everybody, I think I've already seen it in the live chat that came out when it came to this situation here. Let me see if I can find it. Live chat may have jumped a little bit too far, but somebody goes, here it is. Sleuthy Goosey. So he went to parties, right? So that's one thing that a lot of folks have been questioning, is was he a guy that, went to parties? Would he come out and say that maybe perhaps he was one of the people that had gone to the party at the victim's residence that had been known, not just that residence, but that entire block was known for parties and being a party scene? Is it possible that Bryan Kohberger ever made his way out there? Was he a party goer? It appears, at least at this, based on this guy, that is true. And it was a pool party that he met him at. So those typically, in my opinion, somebody who is antisocial would probably feel a little bit less comfortable at a pool party where less clothing is usually typically worn versus like a party in the wintertime or in the fall. What do you think? What are your thoughts, Blue?
Yeah, I think like any college student, you're going to go to parties. You're going to have, I'm pretty sure somewhere in that university, he made friends with somebody. Even though he might have not shown his dark side, he still said hi to somebody if they ate lunch in the same lunchroom every day, or if they had the same class. I'm pretty sure he was interacting. I mean, like they said, most of the people that are SAs, they're normal people when they're with other people. They just do certain things that trigger them. Certain people trigger them. So he's going to have a lot of normal interactions and then a few non-normal interactions that we wouldn't know about unless like he got caught like this one. If it's him, supposedly,
Right, exactly. Everything's all allegedly. You are innocent until proven guilty, and everything that we say is speculation. Yeah. And so that's the the warning there for that. The next guy that comes to talk, his name is Christian Martinez. He's the neighbor for Bryan Kohberger. He's also the guy who Bryan Kohberger's dad had asked, to be friends with him. That there was that story that came out a while ago. Yeah, and so he had asked a reference in that, if he could be friends with him. So this is actually the same guy. There's 2 parts to this story. So we'll show the first part, talk about it, and then the second part, and then we'll react and give you guys our conversation.
He was kind of awkward, but I feel like you can't just write someone off as being crazy just because they're a little awkward. You know, it's crazy because like literally like days after these murders happened, he brought it up when I saw him in the hall. Dad was like wanting to introduce me to Bryan, and he said something. I don't remember the exact like word he used to describe him, but it was something that was like he has a hard time making friends, or he's kind of shy, or something like that. He was like, "Oh, did you hear about these murders that happened?" And it was like so short after they actually happened, like there was barely any news articles out, so there wasn't much that I could have like read. So I was like, yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, of course I've heard about him. He was like, yeah, it seems like they don't have any leads. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's not much about it, you know, there's nothing, I have no details really to say. But yeah, and then he's like, yeah, it seems like they think it was a crime of passion. Those were the two things he said, was that they had no leads and they think it was a crime of passion. One thing that stuck out was it was kind of like on the subject of what it would take to like take someone's life. Like it was kind of like he was trying to see my perspective on, I guess, taking someone's life.
You good?
My bad. I removed the wrong person. I removed myself and not the video clip. So apparently, so his dad talked to him, told him to, make friends with him. Shortly after the incident, he's talking to Bryan Kohberger. Kohberger's asking him about this incident, right? Now, this isn't the first time we've heard this, right? That he's I've heard this before. I'm sure it's probably the same guy. In the clip that I have, they don't show who it is. It's Nancy Gray is outside of the apartment, and they don't show who it is. My assumption is that it is this gentleman. Now, based on the fact that the stories are pretty similar, unless he maybe and perhaps did have another conversation with somebody else. But he says that he thinks that that it's a crime of passion. Is this a possible, little sneak peek into what his defense might be? Is that it wasn't him, that this wasn't a crime of randomness and plotting and of something of that nature, and that more of a crime of passion, maybe a revenge and the X, something of that nature. What do you think, Big Blue?
Yeah, I mean, because it's hard to say, because crime of passion means you would have to be at least dating them or intimate with them to be able to be called a crime of passion. You know what I mean? And I don't think. I think if he went on a date with them, because supposedly they knew each other from Tinder, right? So
that's just possibly. Possibly. We found we saw that that she had a Tinder account, he had a Tinder account, and so did Maddie have a Tinder account. We know that Kaylee went on a date with somebody during the time that she had broken up with Jack, and that at that date somebody disrespected her, right? She left that date. We don't know who that date was. Some speculate that it could be Bryan Kohberger, just because of the fact that he acted similar in a brewery up in Pennsylvania, where he was disrespectful in a similar fashion to the waitresses. Yeah. And so it's speculative, not 100% sure. And Queen B, who was he talking to, Dad or Bryan? It was weird. So again, just for those that came in late, this interview special from Law and Crime was about 30 minutes long. A lot of it had some theories of their own. What I did was I went in there and I pulled out only the parts where the interviewees are actually talking and being interviewed. I didn't want to put in any of the part that Law and Crime put in. That way we can make our own judgment of what we're hearing, if that makes sense. And in that, I may have either split them around or they came in wrong, but it was supposed to have started off with he talked to his dad, and then afterwards it was him talking to Bryan, and I'm talking about the neighbor talking to Bryan, referencing the murders, And then after that, stating that he had thought it was a crime of passion. Now, the next thing he says, he goes into is that they've had conversations, him and Bryan, the neighbor and Bryan. And during those conversations, that Bryan's asked him about, what it would be like to commit a crime like this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a big red flag, man.
I mean, the most I talk to my neighbors, like, hey, how you doing? The grass is growing nice, or, hey, your trash can was out, That's all I talk to my neighbors about. Or my dog breaking the fence and getting over, but that's about it.
Well, I mean, now, but I mean, if, you were on a college campus and or in college town in a college apartment complex or an apartment complex filled with mostly college students, you would assume that, there would be a little bit more interaction there. I just found it very weird, that he would be talking about that. We go first also into the first gentleman that we listened to and his interview, the former classmate from DeSales University, and he talked about how they would try to get into the mind of a criminal, right, during the commission of a crime, and then have that thesis. He's still continuing that game, so to speak, or that project, even after this aspect is, even though he's no longer there. Maybe that stuck to him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And he got a bit maybe too focused into that aspect.
I mean, he was spiraling a little bit. I think that's what they released him from being a teacher's assistant. You know what I mean? He was going way overboard.
That's true.
So something was going on with him mentally.
No, yeah, no doubt whatsoever. I 100% agree with you on that. Let's continue with the second part of this, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll open up the phone lines, y'all.
She didn't have a good feeling about him because every time I would tell her I'm gonna invite Bryan, because he didn't have any friends. I was trying to bring him out.
So the first thing that he's talking about when he says she had a funny feeling about him, he's talking about his wife. And so I just wanted to stop that and pause that back.
I guess taking someone's life. She didn't have a good feeling about him because every time I would tell her I'm gonna invite Bryan, because he didn't have any friends. I was trying to bring him out and maybe meet people he can, relate to. But she was always like, no, please don't. There was just something about him that she didn't like. I guess looking back, it's kind of funny because he was talking about how, he was talking about genealogy because I was talking about the 23andMe because my sister had just did all that. And then he brought up something similar in his studies that had to do with being able to catch criminals because of their relatives' DNA, which is, I guess, how he got caught up in his mix. He just asked about if he had a knife on him or anything like that. If I ever noticed him with a knife. No, I didn't. He never had anything on him like that.
Texted Martinez on Thanksgiving, reading, quote, "Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family."
It kind of made me feel bad because me and my wife were talking and how I was one of the people that he made friends with. And then it kind of made me feel bad, I don't know. What if it would have made a difference that I had been able to meet up with him the times that I could have? Maybe that would have changed anything if it would have, but I don't know. Every time I would talk to him, my wife describes it as a death stare. And it kind of is you make eye contact with people, but you're not constantly just staring at him. He would be constantly staring at me, he's just trying to analyze me. But that was a feeling I would get.
So, last few things that he had said there, pretty telltale. So with the death stare that he was referencing, we'll go kind of backwards there. You think that's something that maybe perhaps could identify him by, we're talking about Dylan. She saw his eyebrows. She saw his, probably his eyes, maybe not the eye color. But do you think that stare he does have, which, it's pretty noticeable. Every time we've seen a picture of him or seen him in any capacity, he's got this empty stare. You know what I'm saying? And so do you think that's something that they could probably use to identify him as or identifying characteristic?
I want to say yes. If you got a good enough look at them. I
Mhm.
mean, look at some of the people that have been caught doing robberies. Wearing a mask, but they have a certain colored eyes, and they have certain eyebrows that the tellers at like gas stations be able to explain to the police. Or maybe a
Right.
scar. I mean, those are during day or nighttime, but there's lights on. I don't know if there was lights on in that hallway or not, and she was able to see him.
Right.
I know, like last night I was in an apartment and the lights were off. I stubbed my toe twice because I ran into a dresser and a bed. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know if they can use that to identify him. If they were to look at like, I mean, I'm sure it's too late to do that now, but had they done it, I wonder if they'd done it. I'm pretty sure they did. Do a little bit of a lineup, see if Dylan could pick out, Kohberger out of a lineup. Right now it would probably be almost impossible to do one of
Yeah.
those and be able to use that in court.
yeah, so it'd be worthless now.
Yeah, it'd have to have been done then. And so,
But they also give their pictures. You know what I mean? When they're interviewing them, they put up pictures in front of them. Tell you, does it look any familiar? So we'll see if they did that, and maybe she pointed them out.
that's possible. That is highly possible. I mean, especially, they had some things to conduct to use the possible of elimination, the possibility of elimination, right? They had a car, so they had registered users of the car, and then from that they can deduce height and weight and gender, or male or female, right? Or yeah, based on their driver's license. And that would deduce, based on all the information that they had, height, weight, all that stuff. So then that probably would limit it down to a few people.
Yeah,
Put those people in a little bit of a lineup and see if she recognizes those guys.
I'm not admitting to any of these, but in Leon Valley, when you run the light when it's close to yellow turning red, I think I've seen myself in some of those close-up photos. I think.
Yeah.
I never said I paid them, but I just said I
Right.
think I've seen them in the mail sometimes. I think they're just, picture that they send you that I look good that day.
Yeah. We might see you in the news too, Big Blue. So, and the other thing that this young man had stated was that, he questioned, had he gone or gone out with him more or whatnot, or went more than he could have, maybe something would have changed. Don't blame yourself, man. This guy was passing by several times, and who's to say that those other times that he was passing by, that those weren't times that he was going to commit this crime, right? Just for whatever reason, circumstance didn't allow it. Whether it was there was a party that night, whether it was more vehicles than usual, which I'll be honest, there's a little bit of a question about, why he would go in there with the amount of vehicles that they had. But me and the guys have a show that we're going to probably be recording and putting out by the end of the week, referencing, our thoughts and theories as far as possible, the way this went down. You might want to hit that like and subscribe button. But before we move forward and start taking the phone calls, I do want to talk to you guys something important to us. It's our partnership with Data Seal. If you haven't looked into them, I highly recommend it. Their link is in the description. If you're if you're concerned about your personal information, your house, your address, your phone number, date of birth, your religious preference, your who you vote for, political preference, I'm sorry, and you're worried about those things getting on the internet and you want to keep those things off, check out Data Seal. They're one of the, if not the best company out there to keep your information off the web. You get a discount when you hit that link, so check them out. Now, with that said, let's move on. Now we're going to open up the phone lines, and for those that aren't aware, haven't been on here for a bit, we have a new phone number. And that phone number is 726-842-0812. And we have turned on the phone line. So if you guys want to call in, talk your theories, talk about the interview, talk about Big Blue running stop signs or red lights, give us a call.
Hey, I run yellows.
Yellows. Yes.
I told my daughters yellow means go faster. If you're the first car.
Yeah, no. Bad advice, brother. That's bad advice. I've seen some crazy things because of that. Let me see. Law enforcement knew almost immediately who committed this heinous crime. Investigators understood that they had to be right once they made the arrest because of the domestic global attention. Oh, of course. 100%, Megan. 100%. Let's see. I have it. It works awesome. Oh, Deplorable Golden has Data Seal. She's gone through that process. Thank you so much.
I did want to say one thing before the show continues. I was reading a Facebook post. I think I sent it to you. It's a dad post, a group that sometimes people follow, and I follow one of them on there. I just want to say it's a sad part, but about a month and a half ago, there was a member on there that posted on there he was going through some tough times, and he had put out there, he was probably needing counseling, needing help, and a lot of people give him, support. Tell him, hey, if you need help, do this and that. And unfortunately, his mind was against him, and he ended up taking his own life. And so may he rest in peace. Didn't get the help he needed. He reached out. People did reach out to him. Sometimes, it was like I felt a little conscious about, maybe if he would have done this with Bryan, taking him out inviting him for turkey dinner, maybe he would have done something different. Sometimes you can put your hand out and they might take it, and it still doesn't work every time, man. So may you rest in peace.
For sure. 100%, man. Rest in peace. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. I did put the phone line number in the chat. It is pinned up. Now, just a couple of rules on it. Again, the way it works is you'll be able to hear me and myself. You won't be able to hear Blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you on a 3-minute timer. We'll listen to what you have to say, and you can ask your questions, and then we'll hang up. We'll put it back on Do Not Disturb. Me and Blue will, discuss your question, and then we'll turn it back off Do Not Disturb, and then take the next call. That's kind of basically the format that we've been going through. We have 900 people in the live chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you guys could hit that like and subscribe button, we'd appreciate it. We're climbing up when we got our. Let's see who it is. Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live. Who are we speaking with? Mm-hmm.
We can't hear it.
This guy went into a house, killed 4 people, each room where these people were dead. There were 2 people, per room.
Mm-hmm.
This was extremely bloody. Right. And then he walked out without getting any blood on him, without getting any blood outside of the house. Well, he walked to his white car that he would have touched at some point that was seen driving around, hours later?
Right.
Like, I'm not even sure at this point that I believe that he did that.
You know what?
Do you see any logic in that? Am I just maybe overthinking it?
Honestly, I do think you do see some logic in that thinking. You're wondering where it's at, but we also have to remember that, from the time that this incident occurred to the time that he was pulled over, I think it was a month had passed to the day. And so that's
I'm talking about that day.
Right.
He murders 4 people, and, if you stab somebody and you get the right part, they're going to squirt blood. Those rooms were covered in blood. The outside of the house had blood on it, but he was seen later that day on camera, right? Wasn't it like with before the police ever even came to the house? Like, what wasn't one of those camera shots like of supposedly the white Elantra? That so he within however amount of time from murdering people to how whenever that one particular picture of the Elantra was taken, he cleaned the outside of that car off, like got out somewhere, cleaned that car off, cleaned like it makes no sense.
No, 100%.
I don't. I'm going to let you guys go just because I just wanted to ask that question because like I said, I just may have been overthinking it, but it's a big stumble in this whole case to me now. But I go daily. I go from like, I think he did it, that I don't think he did it. You know what I mean? Like,
Nah, I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I'm in the same boat as you. You know, there's times where I think that, that I tend to lean towards the side of law enforcement and that they got things right. But I do know that sometimes things can happen. Mistakes can be made.
I do. I mean, I do too. But if you really look at all of this evidence, I mean, obviously we don't have like tests back from like the DNA clothing and stuff. But all we have to go on right now is a little bit of touch DNA on a knife, okay, or on a sheath rather, which logically, if that was sitting in a room with all that blood and it was underneath those victims, do you really think there would be touch DNA on it left?
Yeah, that's a good question that I'm gonna swing over to Big Blue, so that way he can answer.
And then we have, the car, a couple of pictures of the car, and to be honest, and this is just my opinion, they don't look like the same car to me in two of the pictures. And, that's really all we have until everything comes back and they say, oh, we have either this had victim's DNA on it or it didn't.
Right.
But hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Great caller. We're going to continue to have that on Do Not Disturb. Me and Blue are going to talk about this. First and foremost, I'm not aware of multiple pictures of the white Elantra. I'm only aware of one from the gas station, and I'm not even sure that's the same Elantra, right? What about you, Blue?
Well, I know that there was talk that one of the neighbors had a ring camera and they caught the car trying to do that 3-point turn.
Right, but are you aware of a picture that's been released from that night of the white Elantra?
Other than the video camera from the gas station, no. And then that one from the gas station is not the best picture because it's a reflection of the screen from the from the person's phone. So it's kind of a little bit misconstrued. But the police have the actual footage, so they got a better picture of it.
So do you think, if that is the same vehicle, do you think that is a white Elantra? Do you think a lot of folks thought that was a Prius?
I think it's more of an Elantra. The Priuses have that more of that hunchback with that little flare in the back with a spoiler. And, it looks more roundish to me. But like I said, one of the neighbors, I believe, had that ring camera that did catch the car trying to do that 3-point turn. And the only reason they would know he did a 3-point turn is because it was on film.
Right. I think I have I have that picture of that video. I mean, of that Elantra.
And if we remember the story we did last week with a little girl that got kidnapped by the guy in North Carolina, right? Yeah. He got captured on camera, and his license plate was readable through one of the ring cameras. So they're pretty close. You see right there, you can see they had an iPhone. It's reflecting, so it's blocking, but
yeah, we were looking at this vehicle possibly being the same as this vehicle because of the rear. There was the rear angular motion on the back window here. You have the same rear angular motion. You can see part of the tail light extend over the rear quarter panel. This tail light extends over the rear quarter panel. You can see that the headlight comes almost to the part of where the wheel well starts right here in the front quarter panel. And you can see right there at the tip of this person's arm And this area right here is the tip of said headlight as well. And so this is not an Elantra. This was some other kind of vehicle. But this vehicle was parked 2 blocks away from the victim's house, at the house that at one point, I'm not sure if it still is, but at one point was Adam Lauda's house and Jack DeCore's house, just FYI. So the other thing that he had a question about, Blue, that I wanted to ask you. The speck of DNA that was described by the Airmail article by Howard Bloom, who is a author journalist. He described it as a single speck of DNA on the bed amongst where there was a crime scene that was described as being horrendous. You know, especially the wounds to Kaylee were described being gouges and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts initially on that speck of DNA?
I mean, it as it was said, it was on the button. So it would be like, you know, when you flip a button up, you have to push up. So it'd be under, I would say, that's how I undo a button. I don't know about y'all yank it.
So you don't think that speck of DNA could have gotten contaminated amongst the other DNA that possibly could have been, you know, based on where it was found?
Well, supposedly it was found under one of the victims, and if they're under it, then the blood didn't splatter on it, then I would say it might not have gotten any blood on it.
The probable cause affidavit says that it was next to the body of Madison Mogen. Now, there's been speculation that it was under the body, but PCA says next to. There's, you know, that's a question. Good call. A lot of good questions there. I felt that when it came to that was a very good question, but you're right. If the DNA came from underneath the button, that might have been protected, you know, from the top of the leather sheath over the button part of the bottom part of the snap. And so depends on where exactly is that piece of DNA. Good caller. I'm going to turn on the calls. They're on. Phone line is back on. So if you want to give us a call, go ahead.
And the other theory I had was, what if that time that we were thinking, hey, why did it take them so long to get from the house to this part where they finally caught him on camera, you know, the 20 minutes. What if he went to a car wash and he had smeared a little bit of blood on the handle trying to get out? He probably went to a car wash and washed it off. We never checked to see if there's any car washes on the way there.
True. We gotta look that up. We got a call coming in. Thank you for calling the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live. Who are we speaking with? Hello? If you can hear us, we can't hear you. Call back. All right. Well, now my computer's not wanting to work.
I can hear you, but the call's not. The call.
No, the call didn't go through. I was trying to hang it up, and it wouldn't hang up for whatever reason. All right. Maybe somebody called the wrong number. That's possible. If you didn't, try calling again. I'm not sure what happened there. I think some of the sweat of like his hands. I don't like it's his. Wait, I think it's some sweat from like his hand. I don't think it's his blood. Quite possible. Quite possible. We have another call coming in.
Call from Kim.
Hello, welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. Who are we speaking with?
Kim.
Hello, Kim. Now, this isn't the same Kim that we've spoke to before, right?
No. This is the UPS driver. Remember I made the comment?
Oh, yes.
The other night or maybe a couple nights ago.
Yes, right.
I just had a question for both of you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of like off the wall and crazy, but do you guys believe in psychics?
I don't know. I haven't really opened up to that idea when it comes to investigating cases. I tend to try to stick to just the evidence. But what do you got?
Oh, for sure, 100%. But I don't really believe either. But it's just strange and weird. Like I've been following Donna Serafina, and she somehow supposedly quotes that she solved the Lori and Chad Daybell case for finding JJ and Kylie in the backyard.
Okay.
And so she did readings on Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana. And one of the readings she did with Kaylee, and Maddie didn't really come out, but she was talking to Kaylee. And something about a pool party, and that's kind of what you guys were talking about tonight with the one neighbor. And something, she had fire breathing out of her mouth, and something happened there, and her friends would know that she didn't like. And it was pertaining to the unaliving or whatever. So she's on YouTube. It's not like I know her personally. I've just been following like every other podcast or whatnot.
Right.
Donna Serafina. But if you look up Kaylee Pool Party, you could see what she says. But she got, before they even caught Kohberger or anything, bread kept coming into her reading. Bread. So that's the biggest bread company in Europe. It's called Kohberger. So, in a lot of like different things before they even if you just go back and read her readings, it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying I believe, but it's just strange how it kind of connects, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Now, one question: did this reading that she had that came out about bread, was that before or after he was arrested?
Way before. Yeah. And it's all like on YouTube, so it's like, timestamp, dated, etc.
Right. For sure. Interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought just my question to you guys and see what you guys think about it.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll let you go. Me and Blue will conversate about it and tune in. We appreciate you calling.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. You guys are awesome. Thanks.
We appreciate that. Bye.
Have a good night.
We're going to continue to have the do not disturb. We're going to conversate about this, Big Blue. Before we get into it, we have a $10 super chat. If BK was wearing PPE, he could have removed it prior to leaving and took it with him. Could explain the lack of blood in the car. PPE is removed by rolling into itself to contain microbes, bodily fluids, etc. That's a good comment. Are you familiar with PPE, Big Blue?
Am I ever? I wear like 1,000 times a week at work. And I tell you, the worst thing is when you're trying to put a pair of gloves on and your hands are sweaty, or you're taking a pair of gloves off and your hands get sweaty. So you could have dropped a little bit of sweat. But yeah, the worst thing I hate about gloves is, I wash my hands a lot. So sometimes when I try to put on gloves real quick, I put them on and the thing always rips and I always punch myself in the stomach every single time. That's what happens when you have a beer belly, guys.
So PPE, what is that exactly?
Personal protective equipment. So you could have been wearing gloves, you could have been wearing a shield, you could have been wearing the booties for the feet.
Right.
And yeah, you can roll your gloves off, but when you're rolling them off like that, it splashes. So you gotta be very careful and really slow for it not to splash everywhere. I do it all the time when I'm cleaning wounds. I'll stand by the trash can and I'll take off the gloves. And I do get a little bit of splatter on the trash can sometimes because it still has a little pop when you're trying to roll it off slowly. I mean, my hands are big. I don't know how his hands are.
Right. Steelers fan says, love the show. Hit that like, follow, and subscribe. We have over 1,000 people in here and only 361 likes. That doesn't make any sense to me, y'all. Let's get that up. Let's try to get to 500 likes. I'd appreciate that. So Blue, we talked about his education previously, right? When we talked about what he would have been learning and what he would have been, some of the classes, what they would have been doing. And now, one of the things was how not to contaminate a crime scene, how not to get your DNA as a crime scene investigator on a crime scene. So he would have been well-informed, well-educated, and probably even have materials to protect himself in that situation, given the fact that he was still taking criminology classes. He was a teacher's assistant, so perhaps he may even had his own type of gear like that. I don't think that would be uncommon, especially if he's trying to educate others into what it is, proper attire when you're entering a crime scene, and that way you don't contaminate that crime scene. So the fact that this thing is so clean kind of leads me to believe that it is possible that it is somebody with knowledge of how not to contaminate a scene. What do you think about that, Big Blue?
Yeah, man. He was wearing a little bit of PPE because he was wearing a mask, so we know that. But it's hard. Like, for him to be fully suited, he would have to have a backpack with him. There's no mention of him carrying a backpack out or carrying a trash bag out. I would understand maybe some gloves because you can roll them up and throw them in your pocket. That would fit. The shoe booties, I mean, maybe because you can also just grab those real quick. I mean, I used to do construction too, and I had to use booties when I would go into people's houses so we wouldn't, track mud into them and stuff. So they're really easy to roll up and throw in your pocket when you're done. If there's no trash can. But that doesn't explain, he would have had, with the gruesome scenes they're talking about, Dylan would have seen him walking down the stairs with at least, blood splatter on his shirt, arms, but he was wearing black. So that, I'm wearing black today, and if I got some blood on there, you'd probably be hard to see. And that's why.
No, the knife sheath was left behind, right? It was left in the 3rd floor bedroom. Dylan didn't describe a knife either. So is it possible that he had something in his hands? She was, she opens the door, sees somebody that she's not expecting to see. We're all thinking that perhaps she's got a good visual of this guy walking down the hall for 4 or 5 seconds. There's a good possibility she opened the door and he was passing by at that moment, and she just got a look at his face and didn't see his hands.
Yeah.
And perhaps he had a backpack, a briefcase, something to that nature, which would explain why, there was also a lack of footprints. Is it possible that this guy was wearing booties and multiple pairs of booties? Well, then again, maybe perhaps not. We got to think about the and go ahead and say this one, Big Blue.
Thank you, Leticia Guerra, for the $5 super sticker.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Perhaps he goes up there. He's wearing booties. The reason why there's not blood coming in because he never had to, I think everything happened on the bed, right?
Yeah.
The other situation in the other room, I don't think that's the case, right? You have one body, Xana's, that you can see from the hallway when you're walking up towards the bedroom. She's on the ground. Then you also have, and if that's the case, right, you see her there from the hallway. You see the blood on the back of that bedroom going onto the foundation. That would lead you to believe that Ethan's body was probably propped up or up against that wall, right?
Yeah.
And so that situation doesn't sound like it was everything was in the bed type of situation. That seems like a big fight was going on. Now, in that type of situation, I would assume that he would have gotten significant amount of blood on his feet. Yet there's only one footprint in this house that, was taken after the fact on a second trip through with amino black. It wasn't even discovered the first time. And not to mention that crime scene was contaminated by a lot of other folks there, right? A bunch of kids going through, they're walking through. There's no indication that blood spot could have been that. We have a $5 super chat. Good points, but how much did DM actually see? Like at work, we have clothes under our gowns, etc. It can all be removed and into a ball and carried out. 100%. And Elisa Anson comes on with a $5 super chat. I was in an army surplus store overnight and I saw the K-bar knife with the sheath that I believe was the same. I find it hard to believe that he dropped it. What do you think about that? Do you think you find it hard that he dropped the knife?
I don't think it's that hard to believe that he dropped it. Because if there was any struggle and maybe one of the girls grabbed it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it would have fallen off with a button. I mean, you pull hard enough. And that's probably why he rushed out of there after he did what he did and didn't even turn back to look for it because he was panicking because he heard, somebody say, "Hey, what are you guys doing up there?" Because she did say she yelled at him.
Well, that was what was reported from Ashley Banfield, that there was a report that she did yell at the outside. And I agree with you there. If those things did occur, I think that startled him, and that's one thing. The other thing is, during this interview, right? The neighbor had stated that the police had asked him if they'd ever seen him with those type of knives or with knives in general, and they stated no. He stated no, right? They'd never seen him around that. So that might indicate that he may not be as experienced or accustomed to having that style of knife with him at all times. And so my theory is he was not accustomed to that sheath being on his belt, and thus it was an uncomfortable drive from Pullman, Washington to Moscow, and that he didn't have it on his belt, that he had it in his pocket or on his person, or even perhaps in his, briefcase or book bag or whatever he may have brought in to carry his utensils for the crime. And that, during the commission of the crime, he walked up, he removed it, fight is on, and he just forgot it. You know what I mean? Adrenaline kicks in. He's going through something. If this is the first time he's ever done it, for the first time, I find it more logical and plausible that he would forget something versus committing the perfect crime. What do you think, Big Blue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big mistake for leaving the sheath behind. Because without that, it wouldn't have definitely put some concrete evidence towards him, but they still had the other evidence, the camera footage of the car, they had the eyewitness, even though it would have taken a lot longer to find them if it was just an eyewitness.
You're absolutely right. Not to mention, don't forget, y'all, they were watching him before they had the DNA. So the DNA didn't it wasn't the DNA that drew their attention to Kohberger. It was something else. The DNA solidified it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We're turning the phones back on. Do not disturb is off. Call in, y'all. If you have your questions, your comments, we're giving you about 3 minutes per conversation. That way, me and Blue can discuss your comment and or question after the fact. So the call line is open.
Yeah, because people are saying 9 minutes is not enough time. Some people were saying that earlier. 9 minutes is not enough time. It's enough time.
Yeah, so I definitely do. Got a call coming in.
Call from, it's Christine.
Hello, welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live on air. Who are we talking with?
This is Christine. Hey, Blue. Hey, Daniel.
How's it going?
Good, thank you. One thing that I have a big problem with is all the people in Bryan Kohberger's corner, his family, the attorneys, and I understand there's a gag over, but nobody has said that he's innocent. All I've heard is he hasn't been proven guilty yet. But no one's saying Bryan is innocent. Bryan wouldn't do that. He's our son. We love him. I'm just hearing, even Kohberger said himself, he'll be exonerated. He didn't say he was innocent. And again, I understand there is a gag order, but people have spoken, and all they have said is he hasn't been found guilty yet. Which I can't imagine if someone in my family that I wouldn't be screaming on the rooftops. He didn't do this. I would go around saying what kind of person he was and how it's not likely for him to do it. Just curious about what do you guys think about that? And I'll listen off the air. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
So what do you think about that, Blue? What do you think about the fact that none of his family or friends have come forward saying that this man is innocent?
I think in the beginning, his sister came out, right? And a news video with the parents, I think. If I remember right, it's been a while.
I'll look it up.
I remember because there was a report about how the sister was in the movie and that she was also a teacher, right? Or some kind of...
Well, he has two sisters. I think one of them is a psychologist, and the other one
that's right,
was in a movie. Yeah.
And I swear I remember seeing one on air, just like being next to the parents. I remember them interviewing, but I don't remember them saying much, just saying that. Or maybe it was just a bunch of clips of them in the video.
Yeah, because
we got through so many footage that it's hard to remember way back then.
It says here, Kohberger's parents are named Marianne Kohberger and Michael Kohberger, according to public records. His sister, Melissa Kohberger, is a mental health therapist in New Jersey. Her online therapist biography and letter to the editor by her mother's show The family statement, first published by TMZ, did not name which specific family members were supporting Kohberger, but says, as a family, we love and support our son and brother. Kohberger, 28, is a criminology graduate student who stands accused in the Idaho 4 University incident. Let me see. I'm just kind of scrolling through there because I remember seeing something to the effect that, the presumption of innocence was as far as I had remember reading as far as.
Yeah, I don't think there was an interview. I think it was just like their picture and a statement. That's all they did.
Here it is. It says, first and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. The family statement reads, there are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel. We pray each day for them. We will continue to let the legal process unfold. As a family, we will love and support our son and brother. We have fully cooperated with law enforcement agencies in an attempt to see the truth and promote his presumption of innocence rather than judge unknown facts and make erroneous assumptions. We respect privacy and this as our family, and the family suffering the loss can move forward through this legal process. And so that was the Kohberger family statement. You're absolutely right. And thank you so much, Mr. Downtown, for your $20 super chat. Nice work, you guys. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, I was wrong. No video, just a statement and some photos of them that was on there.
Yeah, that's what we're about here, man. We're trying to be as accurate as possible. If we say something right or wrong, we'll try to, corroborate it with evidence. So back to the question. Do you find it odd that none of his family members or friends have come back and said that this man is innocent? I've heard a few people that are associated say that they hope he's innocent, right? But nobody's come forward and said that they think that he is. And I find that pretty suspicious. I find that, there's more people that go, I can see that. We brought out Bree, who was a friend of Kohberger's in high school prior to him and up until the point where he started using heavier drugs. She was a friend of Kohberger's, from the Pocono Mountain area in Pennsylvania. They went to high school together. And, she talked about him as well. And so you good?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she brought up the fact that people in their town, and go check it out. In fact, I'll link it in the description afterwards. It's always good to go watch those older shows sometimes to get a perspective before we found something out or before evidence came out. Maybe something can, shine a new light on something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, she talked about how she talked to a lot of folks in their neighborhood or in their town, and that knew Kohberger, and there was quite a few people that they're not surprised by the fact that he would do something like this. That's a big red flag, don't you think?
Yeah, I think one reason why, they can't say he's innocent because, of course, maybe they know science and they know that the DNA is pretty damning. But he did have anger issues when he was younger, as his friend has told us that personally knew him. So I would say, it would be something in their mind that they probably think maybe he did it. I can't. He's been on drugs before too. They don't know how his status is now. Cause I'll tell you what, I have brothers and sisters too, and I talk to them sometimes every day, or sometimes once a month, or once every 3 months, depending on how close I am to them. They don't know what's going on in my life, and they might not know what's going on through his life.
Right.
So it happens. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. We're going to turn the phone lines back on. We're going to probably be doing this for another 20 minutes, y'all. Lines are back on. So give us a call. That phone number, again, is 726-842-0812.
And the anger issue part was when he started doing kickboxing and he started, being more aggressive, she said. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man. Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live on air. Who are we speaking with? Hello? 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 Oh, man. I don't know if the phone lines are acting up or not. Hey. Retry that again. I know I got 2 calls coming in at the same time. That may have knocked them both out.
Yeah. We're still here, but yeah, I think I just waiting till June. I think they're gonna push it back even further than June.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's just a preliminary hearing. This guy hasn't even pled guilty yet or innocent. He hasn't made his plea yet.
Yeah.
And so, all right, we have the call coming in.
Call from
Drunk Turkey.
to accept, press 1.
Should
to
we
send
accept
a
this?
voicemail, press.
You're on the Drunk Turkey Show. Who are we speaking with?
Yo, it's me, Jaime G.
What's up, Jaime? How's it going tonight, man? Well, thank you for calling in.
Hell yeah, man. What's it called? You know what? I'm more intrigued about anything more than anything. I'm more intrigued to find out more about his childhood life, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know if he had any traumas or, head injuries, because head injuries tend to, take away that part of their frontal lobe about guilt and all that stuff. And maybe that's what, led them to choose this type of crime,
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, I want to see what the parents say, and if they interview more of his friends and whatnot.
Yeah. No, I'm intrigued as well. It's the more that comes out about Bryan Kohberger, the more, it's just a big puzzle piece, and you think you find some of the pieces, and maybe they don't mean anything. And Van Life Adventures, an open mind perspective, is in the house. Thank you so much. I know you say you'll be right back, but when you do come back, we'd like to get you on the show. We want to talk to you. Can you email us at drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com? Yes, this is the one, the only Jaime G. I recognize the number when it came through. You need to jump back on, man, if you're, whenever you can on Wednesday nights. I know you're taking the Wednesdays off, but you are going to be back tomorrow for the midday show. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
Awesome. So you'll see Jaime there. Jaime El Rey is on the horn, y'all. That is true. That's what's going on right now.
I'll let you go. I'll just let you go. That way you get somebody on there.
All right. Sounds good, man.
But
Thank you
good
for
show,
calling
man.
in.
Good show.
Appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow,
Later,
bro.
man.
Later.
Sounds good. Later.
That's a good call. That was a good call there from one of the greats. Jaime G in the house. Let's open up the phone lines again. They are open. And no, I wasn't hanging up on anybody. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know if I have too many things open. I'm going to try to close some stuff down. Let's see if that stops it from doing that. We have a call coming in.
Call from
Crystal?
Hello, you're live on the air. Who are we speaking with?
Crystal?
Hey, Crystal, how's it going? This is Daniel.
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Just talking some theories. What are your questions or theory?
Yeah, so I don't really have a question. It was just something that kind of stood out to me about something you asked Blue earlier about Bryan's eyes. Like, you guys had posted a video of like a friend that he had that his wife was like kind of creeped out, by Bryan, and like that death stare he had.
Right.
It's just like an opinion I guess I have. Like, I feel like ever since Bryan got arrested and like his photos just started like flooding the media, that's something that really stood out to me. Like the way like you just, I don't know, like a feeling that he gave me, with those eyes. And I feel like it would kind of be dumb if they didn't use that in court, because I feel like every single person that has known Bryan or has come into contact with him, or acquaintances, friends, like every single person has mentioned those eyes. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, that's a huge like description. Like Blue was saying, if someone robs a gas station and there's a witness there, they're going to identify someone by something that stands out to them, whether that's like a rare color hair, pink, blue, or, a tattoo. Like they identify people by tattoos. And it's like Bryan's eyes to me, like that's really big. You know what I mean? And I really hope that if they, if and when Dylan does testify, like I think when she mentioned his bushy eyebrows, she was really talking about like his eyes, you know, and maybe she thought, I can't just sit here and say, oh, it's just his eyes, like the way he looked at me or how I felt when he looked at me with that stare, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. I think like I don't know what you guys think or how like it works in the courtroom or whatever, if that's not something that's big. But to me, I feel like in the media, the news, people like everyone has talked about those eyes and like how there's just nothing behind it or something really dark. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
sure.
I don't know. That was just my opinion. I don't know what other people think, but to me, that's a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But I just want to say thank you guys, too, for, like, all the hard work you guys put into your show. And I'm really glad I found you guys. And I look forward to all your videos. And Blue's so funny. He always makes me laugh. And all of you guys do great, you know?
Thank
You
you. I
guys really
appreciate it.
balance each other out. Yeah, of course. But thank you. I just wanted to give my
Thank you.
opinion on that.
Yeah,
No problem.
All
Thank you.
right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And appreciate it.
Good call. Good call. So she talks about the eyes. You know, so I went on a trip back in middle of January, early January, right? This was probably a week or so after Kohberger was arrested. And I went on a trip with my father. We went to go see a football game out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And, you know, we caught the Steelers versus Browns game. And while we were out there, I told my father that, you know, what I was doing on the show and what we were covering. And he wasn't aware of the case at that point, right? He wasn't aware of the Idaho situation. He's like, I don't know anything about it. So I started explaining to him while we were in the airport, you know, about it. And then I showed him a picture of who they arrested. And he's like, dude, that's exactly what I would imagine the person that committed this crime would have, you know, looked like. And it's in the eyes. It's in the eyebrows. It's, you know, the stare that he has. Now, you know, just because somebody has that appearance, you know, doesn't make them, you know, a horrendous person. You know what I'm saying? But this guy just, it doesn't help his case. I'll say that. What do you think, Big Blue?
Yeah, I mean, I think if she actually identified him in the photos, like sometimes I know that they do. I mean, he's got eyes and bushy eyebrows that not a lot of people have. You know what I mean? He's got a look to him.
Yeah.
You put him out in a lineup of 6 people, I'm pretty sure he looked different. Everybody has their identifiers, and I think to him it's the bushy eyebrows in his eyes.
Yeah, it's the brow structure too, man, and the sunken eyes, you know, the combination of those things, and I think the paleness and the color of his eyes as well. You know, it looks colder. He looks cold. You know what I'm saying? Like soulless. I don't want to say that, but it's kind of what it looks like. You know, just and again, like I said, he's innocent until proven guilty. We're not trying to castrate the guy until, you know, who knows, man? Maybe they don't find any DNA in his car, and the guy just, you know, unfortunate circumstances. But, you know, for them to be looking at him and for them to have the information they do, like I said before, I tend to lead with the police department and feel that they have that information. But I will say this, that I am waiting on the results of the search. There's a couple of search warrants that I want to see, or there's a couple things I want to see. I want to see the results of the search of the car and if any DNA came back, right? Yeah, I also want to see, I want to see the search warrant that they got to get his cell phone data, because that was before the sheath, that was before the DNA. And so they would have had to have proven, you know, at least 51% more likely than not that Bryan Kohberger committed this crime to have gotten, you know, that warrant. What evidence did they have at that moment that would say to somebody reasonably that this person is behind this? I don't think just having that appearance of the bushy eyebrows and a white Elantra is enough. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's see. They have lots of footage. They sure do. They sure do. We're going to turn the phone lines on one more time. We're going to take one more call, y'all, before we close it out.
And somebody asked earlier if it was my daughter that they saw, that they heard. Yes. I record here in my house, so my daughter's barge in my room all the time and ask me questions for stuff that's in the car and stuff. So
that's an awesome bar. inside your house.
I wish, man. One day.
One day. All right, we have our last call of the night coming in. Let's answer
Call
this.
from Shirley.
Welcome to the Drunk Turkey Show. You're live on the air. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, my name is Sherry. I just want to let you know, DeSales University is out where I live, and they provide the students with the crime scene clothing to, for their studies. In other words, they actually are given what the crime scene people would use to go through a crime scene. They're giving a set of that. He probably kept it afterwards. Who's going to take it back during COVID? Nobody. So that's how he got out of there uncovered in blood.
That's a great point. That's one that me and the guys have kind of speculated as well. We've talked about the fact that, we put out a video of what it is that's, I guess the sales university put out a couple of videos of different programs within their college, and one of them is a criminal justice program. And within the videos, they show some of the techniques that they use and some of the courses that are taken, and some of the elaborate theories that they go through. They come up with these situations and scenarios, and that they play out. And so we have talked about that as being a possibility, that this guy may have had that type of equipment access to him, or have it from his studies there at that college. Now you said you're close there. Had you ever heard of Bryan Kohberger or the Kohbergers before?
No, never heard of them at all.
Never.
No.
Got you. And so, yeah, I mean, how surprised were you when he got arrested and it was somewhere kind of close to where you live?
Shocked as can be, just totally shocked. Never would expect it up there in the Poconos. It's a gated community. It's not even like it's, just a single cabin out in the woods. It's kind of funky. It's just not to be expected.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I definitely can. Do you have any other questions or comments for me and Blue before we let you go?
Yeah, just a real quick one. If Bryan was Papa Rogers or Inside Looking Out, that person had written that they would not wear the sheath, they would carry the sheath because it would get in the way. So it's just something that makes sense why, if that was him, well, then that's why he left it behind.
Got you. Makes sense. Does make sense. Thank you so much for your call. We're going to discuss that last part of it before we end the show. Thank you.
Alrighty, thanks.
Great caller. Great caller.
Yeah, great call.
$5 super chat from the True Crime Cafe with Dago. Great show as always. Keep up the great work, guys. Go check out these guys. These guys are on YouTube as well. Dago, I watch his. You'll see me in his live chat. Quite often. There's a few guys I watch. Publicly Buzzed, Opinionated Idiot, Criming Shame, Truth and Transparency. Obviously, I catch quite a few guys, and I'm sorry if I didn't shout out your name or your channel.
We've been on Chronicles of Olivia. We've been on
the Pascal Show, and so we're new to true crime. In all reality, y'all, we started in probably November in the true crime, but we've been accepted by a lot of different content creators that are in the true crime community, and we couldn't be happier and thankful and grateful for that. Murder Sheet, Jaime G, of course. Yeah. Murder Sheet was awesome. Thank you for reminding us. And so, no truffle shuffle.
Somebody said I had the truffle shuffle. We got 500 likes.
You know what? We'll record that. We have to be in an outside area with multiple camera angles. I want to do that.
You got to get my good side.
You got to get the good side. I'm going to get the good side. The bad side is going to be everywhere. It might be members only, though. It might be members only. So her comments on the possibility, our last caller, the possibility of Bryan Kohberger being Inside Looking Out or Papa Rogers. Do you think, first and foremost, that there's any connection there?
I think there is a little possibility that there could be a connection because, like everybody said, he stopped conversating after he was arrested. So it could be him.
Yeah. And welcome back, Van Life Adventures. I've seen a couple of your YouTube shows as well. I'd like to collaborate with you guys in the future, near future. If you guys can hit us up or send me your email. My email is at the bottom. It's drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com. We'd appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, Blue has no bad side. True story, bro. That is very true. That's why you got to get all the angles. You got to get all the angles. But to me, guys, when it comes to Bryan Kohberger and being outside looking in or inside looking out or whatever, or Papa Rogers, it kind of goes back to, well, there's two possibilities, right? He is or he isn't, right? And the first thing that kind of leads to make you think that perhaps he is because some of the things that they known and the fact that he wasn't uncommon to forums. He was on the Reddit forum. He was asking for, violent offenders to come forward to him and take a survey, right? And so that would lead you to believe that there's a possibility that it is him. The things that make you believe that he is not, that is not him, would be his education. Going into forums and doing those type of things would be in my opinion, a today's way of inserting yourself back into the crime, right? And I think that would be a big tall tale sign, especially if the direction was starting to look into your direction. And so I would assume that he wouldn't have done that or wouldn't have been involved into those things. Just like it was, he was reported that he wouldn't talk about the murders per se in his classroom. Now we have a neighbor that came forward and said that he did with him. Right. And so maybe it is him. I don't think Papa Rogers is, because there was a lot of things that he got wrong. He did get the knife sheath right, but there was a lot of things that he did get wrong. And also I personally saw a post from Papa Rogers on one of the Idaho discussion forum groups that I'm a part of. I'm a part of those as well. I saw his post after Bryan Kohberger's arrest talking about catching fish and this, that, and the third. Whether his story is true about the fish that he caught it doesn't matter. The fact is the guy posted after Bryan Kohberger was arrested. Could it have been a dummy account? Maybe. But shortly after he posted, that account went gone. And so did all of Papa Rogers' other posts. So it fit the timeline. It wasn't like I saw that post and it was still there after Papa Rogers disappeared from the forum group. Now, as far as inside looking out, I think that's what his name is. I'm not that familiar with. I would be lying if I said that I've gone down that hole. I really try not to go down the 4chan and Reddit side of things because, you'll see a lot of things like I know somebody who knows someone who's related to a detective on the case type of thing. And to me, it can't be corroborated. Right? If I'm going to get some information from somebody, I need to make sure that I can corroborate that evidence or that statement, or at least that person to the area at the very least. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Anita Hunter says, no computer in jail. I don't think at the jailhouse that he is in. I think that there was a news article today that said there's only like 17 inmates. He's by himself and all he has is a TV. So I don't think he has a computer at home. Oh man, people are saying that I'm breaking up. Can you hear me all right, Big Blue?
Yeah, you're muffled a little bit.
All right,
there you go.
Over.
That's better. That's better.
I didn't do anything. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
My computer's jacking up, but that might be our cue to get on out of here. Big Blue, you got any final statements?
Somebody asked what I'm doing for St. Patrick's Day. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm on call, so if I don't get called in, I might go have a green beer, or I might go to a bar at noon that they're having a little event, and I'll have a green beer at noon. So we'll see.
Hit me up, man. I might go with you. Let me know. Let me know. Hey, we tell you guys, don't drink, but we don't want you listening to drunks. We're the Drunk Turkey Show. Peace out, y'all. See you next time. And this thing takes forever to end sometimes. I don't understand why.
I know.
It would have been so cool just